This is Stay Paid, the marketing podcast that gives listeners a competitive edge to stay motivated, find inspiration, and discover proven real-world tactics from some of the best marketers across the nation.
Welcome to another Silver Dollar episode of Stay Paid. My name is Joshua Stike.
And I'm Luke Akery.
And today we're going to go over, you just got, I think Ethan called it your Netflix special over the weekend.
Yeah, I'm going
it was a big production.
To the big leagues,
going to the big leagues. If you've been following Luke on social media or Stay Paid on social media, it's a couple weeks ago by the time this comes out, but you just got back from this trip where you went to 8% Nation, which was Cody Askins' event. He's been doing that every year, a few times.
Yeah,
right?
since 2018, he's done it.
Yeah,
every year.
And so this year you were on the main stage, and it was kind of funny because we spent time talking about, like, what are you going to say? What's the message going to be? You wanted to be very tactical, obviously, because there's a lot of inspiration going on there. So you wanted to get in
they had
there.
Eric Thomas, and I'm not going to beat him with inspiration.
Right.
I'll tell you that.
Right, and then I saw the clips, and I saw, like, the pyrotechnics and everything going off. I was like,
it's pretty funny when they bring you out with hip hop music and they introduce you, right? And then they're like, give it up for it's like in the left.
I get nervous
corner.
getting on a webinar, and here you are jumping on this stage, and I was just thinking,
pyro is
how
going
nervous
off,
is he?
and you're walking out on the catwalk to the center of this. Like they had this center stage. You guys can tell I lost my voice when I was there. Obviously pitching. We had a booth as well. But yeah, I mean, it was, I shared this in the insurance syndicate group. Andrew Saxa and I, who's our VP of corporate sales, and he goes to 40, 50 conferences a year. He knows everybody. He's out and about. And we were reminiscing on just like, wow, man, getting to this point, this high of speaking on the main stage, because this was my first time ever speaking on
Was
a
the
main
first
stage.
one Disruptor, like in 2018?
My first time ever speaking was Disruptor, but that was a panel.
Yeah, that was a
So
panel.
I've been on main stages as a panelist.
Yeah.
But that's totally different than giving a keynote. And so I've been on a main stage because of panels. I have always spoken to like breakouts.
Yeah.
So like you might have 30 people in the room, maybe 50 if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And this was the first time ever speaking on a main stage where, you have people like Eric Thomas and stuff like that. But it was interesting. I really took away like three things. I'm sure there's more that will come to my mind. But one Andrew and I talked about was this idea of the power of visualization.
Yeah.
And we literally, Andrew's been with me for, I don't know if it's been 10 years yet or not, but it's been almost the last 8 years we've visualized me speaking on stage. And really hardcore, probably the last 5 years of going to these conferences and just being like, man, you need to be up there on stage. And to see it come to fruition is just crazy. And a couple of takeaways from that is, one is, think about that, 8 years. What are you visualizing for 8 years? Most people don't even continue visualizing their goals from the New Year goals.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? We're halfway through
By
the year
February,
right now.
like,
we're more than halfway through the year. And it's like, are you visualizing your goals? Do you have it up on a vision board? Are you going back to it? Ed Milet says this, where you can never really achieve something that you haven't frequently visited in your mind. Because it's the power of manifestation. What you think about, you tend to act upon. What you act upon becomes your habits. What your habits do is they become your character, and your character defines your life. And so you need to visualize where you want to be. And most people, they go through life not ever visualizing or really putting down where they want to be and what they want it to look like. And it's like you can't even define success. Most people go through life not even knowing what success looks like. And my challenge to you would be, man, visualization is so powerful. And to see something come to fruition, 5, 8 years later, it's like, wow. And that really is the second thing I would say, is that it shouldn't have taken 8 years. It shouldn't have taken 5 years to get on a main stage. And the reason why I think it took so long is because of a limiting belief. And that limiting belief was really promoting myself at a level that it would showcase to the people who are running these conferences that I deserve to be on this main stage, and you won't regret having me. And I say this often in sales, you got to believe in your product enough to where you're willing to close people on it. And I go, wow, you had such a limiting belief that you didn't want to push so hard to get yourself on main stages, mainly probably because you were nervous that if you push and people don't really want you on, and you actually get them to finally say yes because you just pushed and pushed and pushed, you really have to deliver. Right? So it's that extra pressure.
Is it a fear, or maybe fear is not the word, but is the challenge the ego, like not wanting to come across egocentric, or is it the fear of then having to deliver? Like, can you actually deliver on what you're promoting?
I think it's both. I think it's the fear. All of it is ego.
So I think a lot of people are afraid of the failure part, like not then being able to actually deliver on what they're promoting.
To say you're the best and deliver that you're the best is hard.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're putting yourself out there. I think it's all ego. I think it's literally not believing in yourself enough, not having a goal that's big enough to make you go, you know what, I don't mind pushing and pushing and pushing this person to allow me to be there. I shared when I was on the stage that your goal has to be bigger than your embarrassment, meaning like you have to be willing to embarrass yourself. I shared that your goals have to be like oxygen. If you stopped breathing right now, you would do anything. You wouldn't mind looking like a fool. You wouldn't mind running up to people and pushing them to help you actually breathe again. Why? Because it's everything to you. Your goal has to be the same way as your goal, like oxygen, where you would look silly. You would do whatever it takes to be able to accomplish that goal.
Yeah.
And I just go, man, shouldn't have taken 8 years. My goal wasn't big enough.
I read that it was actually really interesting that like a lot of people don't, and I'm in the same position, don't do something because they're afraid, not necessarily the failure, but the embarrassment from the failure, like you said. And the point that they made was embarrassment is a feeling, feelings go away. The results and the outcomes, though, are permanent. And so if you're not doing those things to get yourself there, you'll never get those results. You'll never get those outcomes, all because you're afraid of a feeling that will fade.
Yeah, I shared on stage, I said, you guys are afraid to pull out your phone to take a selfie and post it on social because you're like, I don't like the way I look. If it's a video, I don't like the way I sound. You know, the camera adds 10 pounds. And I said, I hate to break it to you, that is the way you look, right? And that is the way you sound. And here's the liberating fact of it all.
Everyone already knows it. They see you.
90%. 90% of the people don't care because they're focused on the way they look, the way they sound. And then the 10%, as Lou Holtz says it, that actually care, they're glad you have those problems. They're glad you are fat, that you do sound nasally because it makes them feel better at themselves. And guess what? You don't want those clients anyways.
Right.
You want those people to leave anyways. You don't want them part of your tribe. They bring you down.
Yeah.
And then it really leads to like the second thing of like being willing to take any gig.
Yeah.
Even if it costs you money or it's free and you're not getting paid, you're not getting the recognition. Because I think about like if I wasn't willing to do all these breakouts, if I wasn't willing to go on the Ultimate Agent Tour, where I spoke in 5 cities in 5 days and there was, not a lot of people there, let's just be honest. And doing that and doing the 1% stage where there's 35 to maybe 50 at most people there, I would not have performed the way I did on the 8% stage because I literally had people who saw me at Ultimate Agent, who saw me at 1%, come up to me at 8% and said, your growth from speaking at that Ultimate Agent to speaking on 8% is crazy.
That wasn't that much time.
Yeah. And so I just go, you got to be willing to put yourself out there. I was in a band for many, many years with my brothers. And you got to be willing to go play the coffee house show that has 2 people.
Well, it's doing the podcast, right? You've done so many podcasts that you've never heard of. And let's be honest, probably don't get a ton of listens or whatever. But what it did over time, especially early on, but what it did over time is it really helped you kind of craft your story, Reminder Media story, like being able to tie those things together. Because each time you do it, you have an opportunity to reflect back and go, okay, what worked from that one? How can I shape this better to be more clear? And you take all of that experience. And then it was interesting. I think at 1% you completely winged.
I winged it, yeah.
You just went up. You didn't even know you were speaking.
I prepared for my breakout. I just didn't know I was speaking on the main stage, which is only 35, 50 people. But
that talks to the third point here, right? Which is to make sure that you're prepared when the opportunity comes.
Yeah, it's like you have to be like, you have to put in the work. Like if I had not done the podcast, done things like the Insurance Syndicate, done these breakouts, I would have never been able to get up there at 1% and actually deliver a good talk because I wouldn't have had, you can't ever teach what you haven't developed, right? So you can't deliver what you haven't developed. And so I've developed this art of speaking and knowing my craft because I talk about it all the time. But 8% specifically, I recorded myself on video probably 20 times.
Did you?
Yeah, probably 20 times going through on video because when I first started building out the sales team and getting really good at sales, one of the things that helped me the most is I would record my pitch on video over and over and over and over again. No, it's on my laptop at the time. Okay. Same for this. I recorded myself on my laptop, recording it and getting down because it's one thing to say something, it's another to listen back to it and see if it actually delivers. And so I recorded like 20 times to be prepared to take this moment. Like when opportunities are given, will you seize the opportunity? And so you have to put in the work. You can't just wing it. You have to be prepared to seize the opportunity. And without sounding like I'm bragging, I feel like I did. I feel like I knocked that out of the park.
Yeah.
Where I was able to seize the opportunity because I was prepared. I had put in the work. And because I had put in the work, I was ready when I got up on stage.
Yeah.
And it worked.
So, I mean, a good application, obviously, this is, if your aspiration is to speak on the main stage, this should give you some inspiration, some action items to take away. But I think just in our daily work, right, those daily opportunities, when you have an opportunity to do something or someone asks you to do something, this is something that I had to learn years ago through just some other personal development, which was my natural state was to say no to things. So if I was asked to do something or asked to speak or asked to whatever, put myself out of my comfort zone, I would naturally say no. And I developed a way just to say yes, and kind of figure it out later. I think that's an important lesson in business and in life. But then also taking these tips, visualization, right? Taking the opportunities when given it, and then always being prepared can lead to your next sales call, can lead to your next listing presentation, can lead to that next opportunity you have to work with a business or even post on social media. Like just getting out there and putting yourself out on social media, practice. You'll eventually
succeed.
Find that, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. You'll succeed. And I would tell you that you got to push yourself harder than you even think because
you can take it.
Yeah, there's so much more that you can take.
Yeah.
So much more.
100%. All right. Thank you so much for listening. Head on over to staypaidpodcast.com for the show notes and the video of this episode. And if you like this episode and want to show your support, jump on over to Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star review as well as a comment. And the best way to show your support is to simply share this episode, share the podcast with somebody. This is such a dumb transition. I don't know how to transition to this one.
Josh, you're supposed to be prepared.
I want to do a poll on Instagram. Should we continue with the dad jokes? I really feel like they're starting to get old. But here you go. Did you know that you can actually tell the sex of an ant by dropping it in water? Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. If it floats, they're a boy ant.
Ooh, they're boy ants.
That's a...
That's
we can't let
good.
that one float.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
If you want to get a hold of me or Luke, you can email us at podcast@remindermedia.com, or you can find us on Instagram. We are at Stay Paid Podcast. Luke is available for any speaking opportunities that you have as well. You can find him at Luke Acree on Instagram. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike.
Guys, I'm Luke Acree. Practice the art of visualization. That's your action item from this podcast is you can rarely achieve what you haven't visited in your mind multiple times. If you haven't defined what success looks like for you and it's an evolving thing, then you need to do that. Remember, the difference between mediocre producers and top producers in every industry is top producers take action. Take action on that today.